back by popular demand. And when I say popular demand, it got like 200 views, something like that, you know. So, anyway, let's talk about songs that should have been bigger than they were. Songs that should have been massive. Songs that have all the ingredients, all the potential to be a massive chart-topping song. Songs with millions and millions and millions of streams. Songs that you hear at parties. Songs that you hear out and about at bars, clubs, Tesco, wherever you go and do things that are exciting. Like all these things that could make a song huge, you know, a song that follows you around, but yet they somehow never did. If you haven't watched the previous 2 videos, I've done 2 videos on this. This is the 3rd video. 3 videos of this now. Please go click the links in the description to watch those. Of course, watch this one first though. And comment below and let me know any songs that you would include in a list like this. No particular order, no hierarchy here. These are just 5 songs that I think really should be more famous than they are, and for some reason just never really quite made it that big. You get the premise. Let's not waste any time. Let's just get on with it. It was very tricky to pick one Jessie Ware song, but I have talked about Jessie Ware a lot on this channel, like a lot before. And I've talked about tracks like What's Your Pleasure before. I've talked about how much I like songs like Pearls. I've talked about Free Yourself. I've talked about so many songs by her, and honestly all these songs could have fit this list, and I wouldn't really argue with you if you picked any of those over this one. But I wanted to go with Save a Kiss just because it has a little bit more of that dance club flavour to it that I think it just has more of a sound that you'd expect to hear in the charts, in a way that maybe some of her other ones you might not necessarily hear in the charts as often. But a song like this just feels like it's so ready-made to be like remixed by friggin' Joel Corey or somebody like that, or maybe even like a mainstay artist like a Calvin Harris or someone like somebody like that in the British dance house scene. Fred again, maybe, I don't know, maybe not Fred again's scene really, but somebody big could have easily remixed this song by now and just took it to new heights. And I just don't really know how Jessie Ware's never really had that one massive smash hit. She has had songs charted, and the song that Ed Sheeran wrote for her years ago and is featured on as well. You know, that song did chart, but obviously that's got Ed Sheeran's name attached to it, so it's easier to get that kind of, you know, BBC Radio 1 plays on a regular basis that push it into the charts. And she's never really had a major hit, despite the fact that her music has gotten more poppy, more danceable, more accessible, more groovy, more fun as the years have gone by. I don't really know quite how we've not seen it happen for her yet, but for me this track should have been way bigger. Now this is a very recent pick, but there are going to be a couple of recent picks that I'm going to risk and include on this video. And I say risky because obviously if they're only like barely a year old or something, there's still chance for it to gain some traction at any point, but still doesn't really feel like we're going to get to that point yet with Rêve, where she's going to get a massive hit, and yet it feels like really she should have had multiple ones by now. Again, another artist where I could have picked a few songs, and Control-Alt-Delete is semi-popular, it has done pretty well for her, but this last album from her, again, just had so many synth pop rages, man. So many dance pop bangers that have a disco flair to them, and we've seen a lot of that make it into the charts over the past 4 or 5 years. Similar with Jessie Ware as well, where it's like, how is nothing from this period been a hit, or at least make it onto the charts? And Contemporary Love is another example of that, although it's not quite disco heavy, but good god, the synths, the clashes, everything just hits so hard. It's an absolute banger of a track, and I'm just sat here wondering how I'm not going about my day hearing this song everywhere I go.
You know my daddy was a gangster. Father before him was a damn.
Okay, this is even riskier. I did say some songs on this video will be of the last year, but this is like of the last few months. This is very risky. But Free Nationals, A$AP Rocky, and Anderson .Paak. Now, A$AP Rocky is a very famous artist. Like, he has had hits. He's been known for a long time, and yeah, sure, he doesn't drop as much music now, and there's a bit of an outcry for him to just drop an album, which doesn't seem to ever happen at any point anytime soon. I don't even know if we're ever going to get one, to be honest. He's just become one of those artists like Frank Ocean, where it's just like, are we really going to get an album? Who knows? But he is so consistent with features, with random loose singles that he keeps dropping, and he's killing it every single time. Now with this track, you've got Anderson .Paak on the hook too, and it's just got this really suave, slick, funky, groovy feel because of the Free Nationals and their instrumentation. And there aren't really songs that make it into the charts that sound like this, but given the fact that Anderson .Paak did have massive hits with Silk Sonic, and ASAP Rocky is literally ASAP Rocky, I just don't know how this song hasn't at least took off in some kind of way. Like, how the hell are we sat here and this song is still not really a hit? Like, it's just mad to me. It is mad to me, but this track is easily one of the best songs of 2024 so far, for sure. And maybe we could see it become a hit, but as of right now, it hasn't, and I just don't know why it's not become massive.
That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the
Janelle Monáe is another artist who has just been killing it for so many years now. Even her most recent album was easily her worst so far. Still had tracks on it that I could easily see becoming huge TikTok trends or something like that, you know, like Phenomenal. And for years, there's just been so many songs that have been so bloody good. But I think 2018 was the moment where she should have took off. And Make Me Feel is a recognisable song, even though it hasn't really been a massive hit per se. I still feel like it's one of those songs, if you play around people, there's going to be at least someone that recognises it. It just has that sound and it just has that vibe to it. And it's so enjoyable, it's so fun, it's so funky, it's so Prince inspired. That, yeah, sure, again, maybe with the track that I just mentioned, Gangsta, there aren't necessarily songs that hit the charts like this on a regular basis, but considering how 2018 was just such a big year for Janelle, she had Grammy nominations, it felt like it was the one album that just had more eyes on her than any of her other ones so far. It just seemed like this was the one track that could have took off, and I still to this day do not understand how we haven't seen at least one Janelle Monáe track do that, aside from We Are Young with Fun. That is her biggest song ever. That's insane. I mean, that's insane. What kind of parallel universe must we be seeing somewhere that has more hits for Janelle than just friggin' We Are Young? There's got to be another universe somewhere that has more for her than that, because this is stupid.
Can we bring the love back? I know that you've been waiting so long.
And finally, my fifth and final pick, no slight towards the song, it is no particular order. This was a song that just stuck with me the whole of 2023. This is the other song I was talking about that is only about a yearish old and could still have a life in it somewhere down the line, but there is just something so like Steve Lacy Bad Habit about this track that I just feel could have easily took off in a similar way. Now the only thing is that Steve Lacy had at least some credibility before that track. He was a recognisable name through the fact that he's been with the internet for a long time. He has collaborated with Tyler Creator, who's a massive artist himself. Like he's a known name, whereas Jordan Ward, this was kind of like his first album, first real dipping his toes into some success. He's done the NPR Tiny Desk concert, which was really good, so he does have some eyeballs on him, but he didn't have much credibility before this, and maybe that just didn't quite help him take off in the way that something like Bad Habit would. But it's just got that same kind of carefree, really nice, easygoing vibe. There's just every line feels like a hook. Every line feels like it's stuck in your head forever. It's just so good. It's so enjoyable. It's so slick. It's so carefree, as I've already said. Just a great tune. Great R&B pop tune. That for me, again, could easily be like some kind of TikTok trend at some point. And I just don't really know how this didn't get bigger, but for me, I played it to death. So it was certainly big in my household, but unfortunately nowhere else. And that is it for my picks. 5 songs that I think should have been way bigger. You've already had 2 other videos on this, so that you've got 15 songs now that I think should have been way bigger. So, you know, Many songs to be talked about here, many songs to be discussed. Let me know your picks in the comments. Please watch those previous videos, because, you know, if you don't, you might say something that's already been mentioned, and you would just, like, look like a silly fool. You look like you got egg on your face if you do that. Don't do that. Watch the videos, then come back here. Tell me some songs you think should have been bigger. And if you want to see another video on this, I will more than happy do another, because there are a lot of songs that I've gotten written down for potential songs that should have been bigger. So this series could keep going. Let me know your thoughts. Check out my Patreon as well. Support me over on there. Subscribe as well. Have a good day, and goodbye.
And as we get older, it's hard to reach understanding. I left for no plan B.